welcome back to the show. Today's conversation is quite a troubling one, and as of a reminder that if our systems don't work, the people wouldn't. We're talking about the dental dreams that has been shattered, the plight of UNICAL's dentistry students. Over the weekend, we saw stories of over 300 students of the University of Calabar, UNICAL Faculty of Dentistry and Dental Surgery are facing possible expulsion due to an admission crisis. The university admitted students that the quota approved by the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria, MDCN, which has sparked widespread outrage and despair among students and parents. In such a crisis cause, the MDCN has said that they have approved a quota of only 10 students per academic session for the dentistry program, but UNICAL had admitted over 300 students. The university's management has also been accused of prioritizing revenue generation over regulatory compliance. Students claim they were not aware of the accreditation issues and have invested millions of naira in tuition, accommodation, and other costs. Many students are devastated, having spent nearly a decade pursuing their dental dreams. Some students have proposed merging with medicine and surgery counterparts or seeking government intervention to resolve this crisis. The Nigerian Association of Dental Students, NAD, has condemned the university's action, describing it as inhumane. Others at this point just want to commit suicide or unalive themselves because of the situation. Well, the university responded. That's Vice Chancellor Professor Florence Obi explained that the universities often admit more students than the quota to account for the expected attrition rates. However, she failed to provide a clear path forward, leaving students uncertain about their future. And I'm seeing these possible outcomes right now as students might be forced to transfer to other universities or abandon their dental studies altogether. The university's reputation and accreditation status may also be at risk if the crisis is not resolved promptly. Government intervention may be necessary to salvage the academic careers of the affected students. And with us this morning to discuss this issue is Dr. Adedeji Kowobari, the Principal Concierge Dentist NG. He has joined us to discuss this topic, and I'm sure from his experience and perspective, he'll do justice to this issue. Welcome, Doctor. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much
for
having me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so going straight into the conversation, what were your thoughts on the current crisis or on this current crisis facing the dentistry students of the University of Calabar, and how do you think it can be resolved?
First thoughts was saddening, very saddening that the students have now almost become victims of our multi-sectoral problems in Nigeria. And these are some of the problems that have been inherited from previous decades, that these students have now become victims of. So that's the first reaction, because I went to dental school at Obafemi Awolowo University. I would say I was fortunate, to have graduated at the right time, and we didn't have an issue like this. So I understand the amount of enormous effort that has been put in place by these students all these years, financially, mentally, studying and training to become dentists. And now it looks like their dreams have been shattered. Well, one thing is that the situation can possibly still be salvaged, like you rightly said. However, salvaging it should not just be like a band-aid. It should not just be like an emergency solution. It should be something that goes deeper, just more than just salvaging it for them right now. Because there is a need for a lot of dentists. There is a need for us to train more dental professionals in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
The lag in the dental professionals in Nigeria is so much. Right now, we have less than 5,000 dentists serving a growing population of more than 200 million people. That is far less than the WHO recommended dentist population ratio of 1 dentist to 10,000 people. So it's rather unfortunate and highly saddening that those students have had to, face this situation right now.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, you just mentioned something that I think is already making me think of the question to ask you, because you mentioned that there is a need to train people in this particular field of dentistry. and yet we're seeing a body placing like a mark to people that should be admitted. I firstly even want to understand this story from first knowing the motive behind, this accreditation process that goes around in school. Why is there even a bench in the student that can be admitted or even allowed to continue the program if that particular sector even needs a number of students there? So it's not like the market is already saturated and they're trying to reduce. There's the need for it. So why is there a mark there? I'm trying to understand how it works, the system from
Okay, so
MDCN.
dentistry is one of the most highly specialized profession within the health sector. It's highly specialized, so it requires some high-level training in terms of how rigorous it is. So despite the fact that we need a higher number of dentists, and this is global, not just Nigeria alone, despite the fact that we need a higher number of dentists, there needs to be regulation to the quality of dentists that are being produced. So there needs to be a regulation to the training of dentists and also the quality of dentists that are being produced. So the fact that we need more dentists doesn't mean that we produce substandard dentists. So the challenge is not in the putting of a cap to the number of dentists. It is in the quality that the schools that are training them are operating at. So the way MDCN does the accreditation is this. If you want to start training dentists, you need to meet a particular standard before you can get accredited to start admitting dental students and then training them. So the responsibility lies on the schools to then meet the standard. So depending on the kind of standard you have, that's what will determine the number of dental students you'll be able to take in and train. So a good example, for example, was sometime early this year, when the University of Abuja got their quota for the number of medical students they can admit to train to become medical doctors, increased from 75 to 200. One of the reasons why that increase happened based on the explanation of the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, Dr. Fatima Kiari. She said because of the increase in the number of doctors that needs to be produced, just to bridge the gap or the lag caused by the JAPA syndrome and all of those things. So they had to increase. However, the increase didn't just come without a particular standard. So they have a standard, and then she also said that there will be continuous re-accreditation, that needs to go on so that the standard is maintained. One other challenge I think has brought us to this level at which we are is that even the re-accreditation that happens, the question is how regularly does it happen? Is it every year they go back to these schools to check the number of students that they have and then the standard of training that these students, are going through, because the quality, like I said, is very, very needed. So we are not just trying to look at quantity alone, the number of dentists produced. We also want to have quality dentists. Another reason why it could be a bit challenging for us to have a high number is that the cost required to have the infrastructure needed to train dentists is a bit higher compared to some even other health sciences courses or general courses we have. And it's not just the cost of putting the infrastructure in place. There's also the cost of maintenance, of maintaining the infrastructure. So that's one of the reasons why there is that benchmark or cap, for lack of a better word, in the number of dental students that schools can take in. Lastly, to add, we don't have enough schools even training dental students. That's another thing. We don't have enough schools training dental students. As our last check, I think we have just about 10 fully accredited higher institutions that train dental students, between 10 and 12. So we need more. We need more higher institutions to take in dental students. But like I said, MDCN would need to give an accreditation so that we are not just churning out dentists that are not of good quality.
Before I allow Kiki speak, you just said something that I think has been on my mind for a while. The fact that this is it's not firstly the school problem, even though the school has to be blamed for all of this, or even the students as well. But the people even regulating this, because how can you, I don't know how frequent regulation is supposed to be done. If this had been done earlier, I think the risk would have been mitigated and people would have even found ways to leave quickly. But after some while, then you're coming to tell us that over 300 students should start figuring out another career path when we know what it means to actually get into universities these days and how tasking it has been. So I'm thinking that this is now showing us that going forward, MDCN should start playing a much more critical role in even ensuring that schools adhere to this accreditation process so that we don't have like to deal with a bigger problem later on. Honestly, I was just going to make that input before we continue.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
thank you very much, Oluchi, and of course, Doctor, for joining the show and giving us the needs that we need to know so that we are sure of the kind of information that we're also putting out there. Now, looking at the accreditation process, which is one of the issues that we're currently having, what role do you think that the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria should play in ensuring that these dental schools adhere to the accreditation standards? The Vice Chancellor came up to say that, yes, it was an intentional thing to over-admit. It has been happening for years and years before now. But something somehow, that's why I said she didn't tell us a particular way forward or what could be done in that sense to address the issue. So now let's say it's falling back on the MDCN to decide what they are going to do with that issue. So how do you think that they should play that? What role do you think that they should play in ensuring that dental schools adhere to that accreditation standard?
Okay, so first off, there should be an open dialogue that involves all parties that are involved in this, MDCN, the school, and then the students, and the relevant bodies and associations. Because, like I said, this is a multi-sectoral and multifaceted issue. It has its implications on everybody, on the whole dental industry, which is where we at Concierge Dentist NG play in. Our goal is to improve the access Nigerians have to quality dental service. And this access cannot be improved if there are no dental professionals, well-trained dental professionals. So the first thing is that there must be an open dialogue among all parties involved. Where the fault lies in should be identified, and some sort of punitive measures should be put in place to make sure that such doesn't repeat itself. Now, on the part of the MDCN, the Vice Chancellor of UNICAL said that they usually over-admit because of the expected attrition rate. However, the question that needs to be asked is what attrition rate do they project? Because if you are given the quota of 10, so the quota of 10, when it comes to admitting, the quota of 10 basically means that you have the capacity to train 10 dentists. It also has different implications. Some could interpret it to mean that you have the capacity to only to admit 10 dental students. If you try to do that, then you would be limiting the number of students that can be admitted, because as they pass through the training, some of them definitely would drop off because possibly they're not up to the standard. So it's not unexpected to admit a little above the expected quota. What's another implication of the meaning of the 10 is that the maximum number you can graduate on a yearly basis is 10. And we see a situation where there are some schools who definitely have above 10 and they don't even graduate up to that number. So the first thing is, one thing I think MDCN can do for schools is to say, if your quota is 40, for example, to the best of my knowledge, I think Lagos University Teaching Hospital, they have a quota of 40 dental students that can be taken in. If your quota is 40, then what percentage additionally can you add when you are admitting new students? And one of the ways to get that is to review the rates of attrition that has happened within the last 10 years, for example, and then you can use that to project. So one of the saddening things about the UNICAL experience is that there is no way you want to explain how your quota is 10, which means that for 6 levels in the dental school, you should have 60 ideally. Yeah. Now, even if you have a 50% increase as extra, that should be 60 times 2, which should be 120.
120.
Why do you then get
not 300? Yes.
Exactly. So that addition is too high. So what is the expected attrition rate and what is the expected extra that can be admitted, on a yearly basis? This is the rate that MDCN, for example, can always check. So another challenge I think might be happening is that sometimes the MDCN is at times primarily concerned about the final year, the number of students or new dentists that they want to register, they want to send from the school. Oh, is it up to the quota that we were given? We don't care about the number that are down the line in the number of levels up beyond the final level. But the thing is, the number of students we have in the other level will, at the end of the day, affect the final number in the final year. So regular reaccreditation visits must now go on. Do we want to do it yearly? Do we want to do it every 2 years? And what really happens in reaccreditation or even accreditation is that the MDCN comes to the school to check the standard of training. There is a minimum amount of equipment, materials, resource personnel that need to be available to train dentists adequately. So all of these need to be checked regularly. One of the challenges I know that we have seriously as a nation is our maintenance culture. And that's why I said at the beginning that this is a multi-sectorial issue. I tell people a lot of times when we do trainings and analysis that there is no sector in our nation that can experience a significant growth without commensurate growth in other sectors, in other complementary sectors. So for example, now this UNICAL issue is something that affects both the health sector and then the education sector. But within the dental industry, finance is also an issue. Finance is also an issue. There's a legal part of all of these, because, for example, now, if our legal sector in the country is so efficient to the point where, litigation can happen and then some people can even sue for damages and all of those things. When you know that there is rule of law and that you shouldn't do something like this, you will have prevented it ahead before it happens. So that's what I'm saying, that for us to prevent this for the future, a lot of other things have to be put in place. So regular reaccreditation visits needs to happen from MDCN to make sure that they are not leaving these schools to have over-admitted students, and then we are not trying to do something to solve the problem when a lot of things, have happened afterwards.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We have quite a number of comments here, but we want to take a break. Let's take a break. Let's breathe in and breathe out, and then we'll be right back. We'll read some of these comments and then use that as maybe another question to be able to ask you to give some of these people, clarity with some of the issues that they're facing. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the show. We have quite a number of comments here. Very concerned people in that sense.
Affected people.
Concerned and affected people. Because looking at the comments, it's almost like they are really hot about what's happening. And then we have from Minded Twist here. Is it Minded Twist?
Mind Twist.
Mind Twist is saying, I'm a 100-level student that's been affected by this. And Miracle Justin said, we are not 300, we are 465 in number, way over 300. And the Mind Twist is also commented that, but now they admitted about times 10 of the quota in some cases, still saying that we are 465 in number. And it's quite sad because this is somebody who has probably told her parents about her matric, is excited. Her parents have been involved in all the process, the jam, all of these things that has happened before she finally got, admission, or he finally, I don't know who my twist is, but I'm just assuming it's a he or a she in that sense.
Aduma Violet even mentions her son here, so the parent is also talking about how affected she is.
Yes, it is. So let's start from the student angle now. What advice would you give to these affected students, and what options do you think that they have to salvage their academic careers? I've seen some people on their tweets talking about them being in 500 level. This person is just starting out, but I can imagine that there's been a lot of emotional, physical, and financial investment in that. So if you can maybe address the different levels and what options that you think that they might have to salvage their academic careers.
I wouldn't lie, it's tough to advise because I've not been in their shoes before. I would have to say that and be honest. However, generally, one of the things you can do in a situation like this, first, is to be calm. Maintain calmness. It's part of the challenges in life. There will always be challenges in life whenever there are issues. One other thing I would want you to also do is not to give up on your hope of becoming dentist. I'm particularly interested in producing more dentists. Like I said, it's a very, very fantastic and highly rewarding profession. So it's very fantastic and highly rewarding. However, one other thing apart from being calm and not losing hope is to start looking at other options. I know as recent as 2-3 years ago, a school like University of Jos had a similar issue, and their dental students were admitted into the medical line. That's the medical course, their medical counterpart, so that they were going to train and then eventually become medical doctors. And I think Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria also did something like that recently. So that's one other option, and that's also the reason why I said earlier that we need an open dialogue that involves all parties. One other thing that I think the students also need to know is that despite the fact that you don't have your degrees yet, or it's looking like you might not have your degree, one thing that you've been given is dental knowledge. Yes, dental knowledge. Yes, there's no degree to certify that. However, within the dental industry, there are quite a number of things that can happen with your dental knowledge. And that's why, for example, the question you need to ask yourself now is that the knowledge of dentistry that I have right now, what am I even doing with it? There are quite a number of things you can do with dental knowledge, even if you are not yet a dentist. It might be difficult, but you can do it, especially in this internet age and social media. If you're calm, you are positive, there is a lot of positive turnaround that you can make out of these. There's a lot of positive turnaround that you can make out of these. So like I said, be calm, put all options on the table, do not lose hope, and then ask yourself, the knowledge I have so far, the investments I've made, the knowledge I have from the investment I've made, what can I do with it? What can I do with it? So I think that is what I can say for now to the affected students.
So we have more comments here. Aduma Violet is saying, my son is a year 1 student and they are not over 300 but 465 in number. We also have other comments here. Kodichuku Okechuku is saying, year 6A, 61 students, year 6B, 39 students, year 5A, 97 students, year 5B, 128 students, year 4A, 43 students, year 4B, 24 students, year 3, 11 students, year 162 students. That's a lot of number. And it's beyond just those numbers. Even the parents, the guardians, whatever struggle. I'm looking more on not even just the school, but the kind of mess that the school has made. Because there's no clarity. I'm blaming the school because there's not been any clarity per se talking about why this was done. And if you're talking about aberration or whatever stuff, of what number? You have explained these numbers to us, but still it doesn't make sense with what has been done in UNICAL. We also have Olurombi. Okay, so Mind Twist is saying that he's thank you for that. Olurombi Olawale is saying what we need are number 1, improve these facilities and pay the lecturer debt. Number 2, merge the classes that are too populated with their medicine counterparts. Number 3, we reject all form of transferring to other schools. So that's what another viewer is saying. What do you think about that last? I really want to ask the doctor, what do you think about that last tweet saying that they should cancel any form of transferring students to other school okay, we still have comments from Kodichuko saying all we are asking is that 1, the school releases funds to meet up with the MDCN requirements and graduate the class awaiting induction. And number 2, merge some classes from 500 level with medicine. So what do you think about that, doctor?
Okay, so yes, merging with medicine, the medical counterpart, is an option on the table. Even transferring to other dental schools is an option, although the possibility of that is very, very, very slim. And the reason is because these other schools too are operating on a very, very tight and limited quota. And they also are trying to prevent something like this. University of Nigeria, Nsukka, is an example of one school that I know right now is facing a lot of heat as regards their accreditation. So it's very, very challenging. There's a lot of financial need, investment when it comes to training dentists. Whether we even want to train a small number or a high number of dentists. So like I said, all options should be on the table. For these numbers I'm seeing is highly saddening, that this has gone on for many years. So like I said initially, punitive measures have to be brought to the table. One of the things that can console some of those affected, even apart from the other solutions we're trying to put to the table, is to see that someone goes punished or some people get punished for what has happened. And
get
if this doesn't
justice.
happen,
Not just punishment, justice also.
Yes, something should happen, because the kind of development we are looking for or asking for in our country cannot be there in every sector if there is no rule of law. If there is no rule of law, the rule of law must be, upheld in every sector, in every area. So there must be justice for what has happened so far, and then everyone should collaborate for the way forward.
Talking about collaboration, Dr. Adedeji, I'm just thinking, I just graduated a few months ago, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of these students, because I spent 6 years for a 4-year course. So imagine during my last year in school, a body is coming to tell me my course was not accredited. You were accredited though, because I'm just imagining all of this, and I'm trying to keep my cool. So at this point, I think one major solution I would really suggest is if the accreditation is very heavy on financial resources and the adequate training needed for these people, maybe at this point there can be an exemption. Maybe they should just think of some other resources or gather money, collaborate, as you have mentioned, involve the government, involve these bodies. So if you are saying that is the resources and the financial ability that is not making us want to chunk this amount of dental students into this particular sector, let's do all we can, because we can't waste people's dream. We're talking about students who we are trying to even have in our country, study in our country, and serve in our country. This is already a prompter for people to give up on the educational system in Nigeria and have a very strong reason to want to school abroad and even practice abroad. The Jackpot syndrome,
at all.
Exactly. The Jackpot syndrome affects people in the medical field even more, and this is even a stronghold that they will say they are not even practicing in Nigeria again. It's really appalling, and at this point they should consider students who have spent 6 years. The year 1 student and year 2 may not even feel the brunt of it, but 6 years, and I'm not going to graduate with my certificate to practice. It's not, all this staying calm cannot help at this point. We have to figure out a way how this particular set, I don't know if there can be an exemption, put the resources needed, let them be trained, let them get all the best training and chunk them out, because I can't imagine. I really don't have questions. I'm just really emotional about this topic. Very emotional.
Before Doctor replies, we have another comment here, and I'm sorry I'm putting in the comments just so you know that we have people who are following this conversation. My tweet is saying, and now the over-admission isn't just affecting dentistry, it's affecting every single department in college. So transferring us to other departments isn't going to work. Year 1 medicine, they are already 911. At this point, Doctor, please just wrap this conversation.
I wanted to ask if these numbers are real. I wanted to ask
if these numbers are real. These are from students that are affected.
Yeah, I'm not questioning it. I'm not saying they are not real, but they are shocking and staggering.
Very.
They are shocking and staggering. And we shouldn't sit down here trying to waste time talking about the problem. Solutions, are the next thing, because all of these have far-reaching implications. The health sector and the education sector are two sectors that are right now, like sitting on a time bomb, and these two sectors have a direct effect on the future of any country, because right now, like Oluchiwali said, some of these students, will even feel discouraged and ask themselves, is it worth it? All these years that I've gone to school and now I'm close to the end, and they are saying that I wouldn't become a dentist and all of those things like that.
Yeah.
So there should both be short-term solutions and then long-term solutions.
Yes.
Exactly. The government, the school, and also the dental industry, which involves the private sector, the association, and existing dentists, all need to come together to bring out a solution on the short term and also on the long term.
Long-term.
You know,
And be transparent about it, very importantly. Transparency
yes, exactly,
is one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria.
Because
Telling
even
us at
the
the end
laws,
of the
the
day,
laws,
fire
the
brigade
laws and the
approach.
regulations were crafted by humans. So there are times when some emergency situations will allow you create some exemptions.
Yes.
You know, so
The
there
need
has
for
to be
amendment.
an exemption can be possibly created.
Yes.
Especially when we have proof that all these students have gone through the levels. You know, there's a proof that they've gone through the levels. You know, is there going to be possible extension or something? All of these, as I said earlier, that open dialogue, all options should come to the table and then they should be discussed.
We basically
However,
have,
this can...
Yes, we basically have all the evidence here already, because we have comments of people talking about, these are not imaginary names. These are names with their surnames right here on the screen, talking about their plight. And we even have more comments here. Osifor Praise is saying that I'm a pre-med in UNICAL Dentistry faculty. Joy Ebong is still saying that I'm an alumni from the Pioneer set, and they have had these facilities, staff and accreditation issues from when I was a student. I spent 9 years plus in school because of it. That is insane. Favor Ikawu is saying, please, year one is included in this mess. We need help too. Osifor Praise is still saying, getting admission is not easy.
It's not.
Even with high jam score, please consider the pre-med students. This is all the evidence that the government or whatever body that's in charge of this thing needs to have. This is all they need to see. This is all they need to take that into action. And we have tremendous comments. The comments keep coming in. I'm so sorry, Doctor. We have to keep reading the comments. King Enya is saying the issue of transferring to other schools is that because of the curriculum differences, me, for example, in year 5, might end up starting from year 2 or year 3, and that's unacceptable. Okoro Deberechi is saying, I'm a year 5B student there also. Our fate is undecided by the management. This is a sad thing. It is outright mess, and I think that you have also mentioned it. Let it get fixed. Long-term, short-term solutions. Let it be what is needed at this point. No longer talk and do and headlines or tweets or anything of that sense.
Calm down, can't work for students
solutions
like this. Because if I was a student, I'm not taking any calm down.
Doctor, I'm so sorry.
There's need for high prioritization of education and health industries in Nigeria. There is a serious need for that, you know, because, like I said, the recommended ratio of dentists to population is very, very, very low in Nigeria. You know, we don't have enough dentists. Even in terms of concentration, we have a lot of concentration of dentists in the southwest region of Nigeria, particularly in Lagos. You know, there are a lot of Nigerians, millions of Nigerians that have never sat on a dental chair before. Why? The professionals are not many. Less than 5,000 dentists in Nigeria. We need to produce more. Government needs to pay a lot of more attention, you know, to the sector, the health sector and the education sector, because those two sectors are some of the sectors we can use. Activities happening there are some of the sectors we can use to predict the future, you know, of a nation. Our population is increasing at a very staggering rate. It's projected that by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous nation in the world, overtaking the United States and behind just China and India. What are we doing to prepare for that, even in the health sector? You know, so there's also the issue of access to dental care, even medical care generally. You know, so this is a wake-up call, and it can be a good turnaround situation for us, trying to solve it first for the short term and even also to the long term. There is need for a lot of funds to go into the sector, the health sector, and even the dental sector within the health sector, because it takes a whole lot, you know, to produce dentists, a whole lot to put infrastructure in place.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate the fact that you took your time to come here and speak to us and also our viewers on this very, troubling and very important conversation. And I hope that for some reasons we find a solution. These bodies take serious control of this issue that's happening, because the fate of these students are literally hanging in the balance right now, and a prompt resolution is the only thing that can actually prevent any long-term damage to their prospects and even the reputation of the university. That's all that we can take today. Thank you to our viewers. Of course, Dr. Anolochi, thank you for being a part of this conversation. Our viewers, thank you for joining us on this important discussion. We'll see you again tomorrow with another amazing topic. Bye-bye.